Welcome all to the debut of the Paranormal Perspective True Online Ghost Experiences, a place where you can share your personal accounts of paranormal activity. If you have any experiences you wish to share, please email me, info@paranormalperspective.com. You can also find me on Facebook, VJ Prasad as Paranormal Perspective. Send me a friend request and I can happily keep you updated as new stories come to light. And absolutely please subscribe to Paranormal Perspective on YouTube so we can have a long time to come up talk about all things ghostly. So today we have our first installment into what is but one of many, hopefully, to come as we kick off today's first episode. The names and locations of the individuals involved have been removed just to protect their privacy. But otherwise, if you have anything you wish to share and you don't worry about that, neither will I. So today's email that I received says, so I'm quoting this off of what I was told from today. I've always had experiences in every house that I've ever lived in, from the time I was a child up until now. The experiences that have stood out are the shadows I see during sleep paralysis. The most recent happened about a month ago, while I fell asleep in front of the TV. Sleep paralysis always begins with a nightmare, then follows the sensations of paralysis, yet fully aware of my surroundings and what's happening. This time was different. I felt heavy pressure and was unable to move, and trying hard to scream for my partner to wake me up. I knew in a matter of seconds that I would be woken up by him shaking me awake. I felt that familiar hand on my shoulder, and I could feel myself slowly regaining full consciousness. I opened my eyes a little, only to see a black shape and a torso with arms touching my shoulder to wake me up. I forced my eyes to look up, but there was no head. Fear washed over me, and I screamed for my life until I was willing myself to wake up. I'd like some clarity as to what happened. Any thoughts and comments are appreciated so that I can help my son who seems to be having the same experiences, but while he was awake, and more terrifying for him. My mom, as well as my partner's mom, want us to make sure that we have a good home that has good energy. They are so afraid for grandkids. I'll let you know where we end up as we are moving and starting the buying process now. We're hoping for summertime or early fall. We'll see how things go. Anyhow, I also wanted to mention that these things happen to my son sometimes while he's asleep, but mostly while he's awake. He will be taking a nap during the day and start sobbing in his sleep. When I wake him up, the first thing that he says is that we, my partner and I, are going to die. He always goes back to the house in our previous town, always talking about it. But we let him ramble and then bring him back to the present reality that we don't live there anymore. The other day he was watching cartoons in one bedroom with the door shut and the lights on. About 45 minutes later, he started crying hysterically, saying that a monster came up from under the bed, saying that it would kill him. He had not fallen asleep. When we questioned him further about it, he said that it looked like a red cloud coming from under the bed with green eyes, and sat right in front of him and said it was going to kill him and all of us. Our mattresses are directly on the floor right now and there's no space under the bed, but he said that it was under the mattress. Rewinding a few days before this incident, we had dinner at a friend's house with her husband. I'd been to their house before for birthday parties and dinners. I noticed odd things before, but we thought nothing of it. For example, my son once went downstairs to their undeveloped basement used for storage and such things, where they also kept their dog. I heard the dog barking and I knew my son was downstairs, so I followed him. The dog was barking but not at him, but it was looking to the corner of the basement. I told my son to go back upstairs, but while doing so the dog stayed focused on the corner. Anyhow, this particular dinner, it was just us and her family, not the crowd of people that we usually have. 20 minutes later, I'm tired and dizzy and I can't put a sentence together. I wasn't drinking or anything, but I knew something was draining me. We sat down to dinner and there I saw a man standing at the top of the stairs that led to their basement. I usually see shapes and shadows, but the head was clear. He had ruffled white-gray hair, he was Caucasian, and the rest of the body was a blur shape of black. I could feel his glare. Our friend and her husband went on to tell us that their oldest daughter, who is 5, is being put through a barrage of tests to figure out why she isn't sleeping. They suspect by they I mean the doctors, suspect it's the adenoid glands, which are large and pressing on her nasal passages while she sleeps. It has affected her moods and she cannot concentrate in school, and consequently falling behind in kindergarten. Our friend had a bad fall on the stairs last November. As she was stepping into the basement, she fell flat on her head and lost consciousness for 20 minutes. She didn't go to the doctor right away. She hasn't been able to go back to work or go to the gym in over 5 months. Her husband fell in the exact same spot, but his injuries were not as bad. Also, their dog died suddenly weeks just before our friend had the bad fall on the stairs. I can't tell you how concerned I am for them. We were all feeling off for the past few days after that dinner, and my partner especially became so moody the following Sunday that it was almost unrecognizable. The days that followed, the above incident with my son happened as well. I've got some good advice as to types of plants that I can get for home, where you put the leaves in their kids' bath and such things, or in their pillowcase, and these leaves can protect them. I have to find these plants still, but anyhow, if there's more I can do to protect my kids, please let me know. Sorry for the long email. Anyhow, thanks so much for giving us a safe place to talk. Needless to say, that is an intense story with a lot going on. One thing I can definitely say with such a thing is that nobody can ever tell a person when they're going through something like this that it's wrong or incorrect, or that they're not experiencing what they think they are, because that's not for anybody else to say, I don't think. That was just me taking a sip of wonderful coffee. One thing I always tell anybody who's going through such things is that it all starts within you. You can't go asking for help if you yourself are too afraid to deal with a situation. That's without a doubt. You have to be ready to get involved in what you're getting involved with so that you can stop it and make it right for yourself. That goes without saying. But when we talk about sleep paralysis, no better story I can think of when it comes to such things as one that's afflicted so many people worldwide. Many of you may have already heard about this, but the old hag syndrome, the shadow man, things like that. Those are the big related stories surrounding sleep paralysis. So, for those of you who don't know, the old hag story goes that while you're asleep, your mind essentially will wake up, but your body hasn't actually caught up yet, so it's actually technically still asleep. You can think, you can hear, you can breathe, but your body itself is not able to respond or move just yet. So it's of course a temporary thing, but many people, myself included, have experienced sleep paralysis. Essentially though, it's just a matter of willing your mind to wake your body up, and then you're basically as normal. Now, what happens in the case of the old hag syndrome is you have a situation in which, while in this state of being immobile, you will see or hear things that are out of the ordinary, but then all of a sudden you're drawn to a figure in the room. Some people see the old hag, which basically looks like this creepy old woman who doesn't look very nice, who will then crawl up on top of you while you're unable to move, sit on your chest where you'll feel that heavy pressure. Some feel attacks of many different varieties, varying severities as well. But aside from the old hag that they see, sometimes some see the shadow man. Same situation, except as opposed to a woman, they just see an outline figure of a mass shadow, black generally in color. Again, the pressure on the chest. Some reports state that the old hag will attack that person who is unable to move, or same thing with the shadow man, cause them physical harm. It's even gone as severe as some stories where people have reported such things, say that they've actually physically been hit, choked, raped, even penetrated, and I'm not even making a joke of that, so it can actually be quite scary, quite severe. One reason why I always like to state that this is a place where we want to be respectful to everyone is because anyone who's experienced something to that extent, it isn't right for anyone to judge that, because that is a terrifying experience a person can undergo, and you're unable to move, you're unable to protect yourself because your body can't move. So it's, please, with all comments, definitely be respectful, but this is open to comment, absolutely, just being safe for everyone involved. But going back to that old hag situation, I have myself definitely been in that situation of sleep paralysis. I have been in a situation of hearing those noises. I have felt the pressure on the chest, and I have seen the figure. I've never personally been attacked, but I have seen the figures moving around the room. Now, I am also on a paranormal investigation team that is called the Paranormal Perspective. So we do investigate such things as well. So obviously I have come across and seen things that I can't say are normal, alive. I have seen black shadow masses, I've seen shadow people, so anyone who wants to tell me what they've experienced, I am ready to believe what you're going to say. I will never judge for that. But in terms of things that one person can do to protect yourself, I always again state, it starts with you. You have to have that belief in yourself, because it can't get better unless you believe in yourself to face what's going on. Now, aside from doing the obvious, trying to get your bearings, this all comes down to a system of belief in how to protect yourself. I'm not going to tell a Christian person to use the Hindu faith techniques to protect yourself from spiritual attacks or entities. I'm not going to tell someone who's a Hinduist to use Muslim techniques or anything like that. I'm always going to say that if you're Muslim, use your Muslim beliefs. If you're Christian, use your Christian beliefs. If you're Catholic and so on, use your system beliefs, because it's what you believe that will help you through this process. When you're dealing with situations of attack, now, anytime you have a situation where you feel at risk or you feel that yourself or your family is being threatened, absolutely find someone who can help. Please definitely be mindful that there are some out there who, unfortunately, they're not nice people, who will be trying to take you for money and things like that. This isn't what this is about. This is about helping others, helping people get through that. So if you're needing help, definitely contact someone in your area who can help you, who's not going to be trying to take money from you, but actually genuinely wants to help you. With that, for example, with my team, I don't actually ask for money, but I do definitely say that if someone wants to donate, I ask that they donate to our local animal shelter. So that way that money can go to help some animals in need. That's what I do with my team. So finding someone like that definitely is a good idea, because they're actually honestly out to help, and I please implore you to do your research before you start telling anyone, because it's not about getting names out there or anything like that. It's about getting you the help you need. When it comes to that paranormal aspect of that sleep paralysis, now for you specifically, I'm addressing that, of course, the person who did write me this email. I always want to make sure that, as opposed to thinking about the leaves and the things like that you can do to put and surround them, it's a matter of helping your children understand what's happening. Not necessarily telling them about ghosts and all that kind of stuff, but explain to them that unless they've actually got physical harm, to try to keep them calm about it, so that way they're not scaring themselves. Especially as a child with an imagination, you definitely don't want to make it worse. That's just me taking a sip again. Talking a lot can definitely make my throat a little dry. No, it's definitely one of those things where you want to make sure that you try not to leave them in that state of fear. From what you're telling me about your son, I mean, the big thing, he's terrified. You know, it sounds like, I mean, with hysterical crying and things like that, scared that his parents are going to die, you need to definitely address that with him. Give him that comfort, give him that assurance that he's safe, that you're safe, and that you're going to be able to protect him. Now, with your background, your personal spiritual beliefs, first thing you want to do is go with, now, if you feel that this is something where you want to bring in any spiritual, religious aspects, you may do so, but please understand also that when you're dealing with human spirits, religious artifacts won't help, because religious artifacts and things like that are made for inhuman spirits. A regular human being is not going to be angry by a cross. That's one thing for everyone to keep in mind. A human spirit won't be mad by a Bible. They are definitely things that can make a spirit more active, but not aggressive. And I strongly believe that, because a human spirit is a human spirit. A book won't make them mad, however, something inhuman will definitely, that can get them going. So, in a case like the shadow man or the old hag, to date no one's actually proven whether that is a demonic force or if it's actually just a spiritual human force. We don't know that, but unless you're having much more aggressive attacks on you, I would probably be safe to say that it's not inhuman, which is at least something to keep you calm, at least, so that way you're not worrying about, okay, am I rolling under this spiritual attack where I'm going to need to get a church involved, right? You definitely don't want to do something like that. unless you're really certain that this can be harmful in that aspect of an inhuman spirit. So I think, based on what you're telling me, is your child's being afraid because of something that is trying specifically to scare him, ultimately getting to you. Now again, I'm approaching this from the sense of I'm taking everything you're telling me as exactly true. I'm not judging or trying to tell you that it's not true. So I'm addressing this as though this is actually happening. So from my point of view, I would say that treat it like a human spirit trying to scare you. Now, if you're treated like a human spirit trying to scare you, you need to take ownership of your home, take ownership of your house, take ownership of your children. You need to make sure that it knows it has no place in your home trying to scare you or your children. Especially as a mama bear, you're out there to protect your kids and no spirit's going to tell you otherwise. And I completely believe that the love of a mother can outdo even the most scary of inhuman spirits, because love is far more powerful than any dark force that can exist. So a mama bear protecting her cubs is definitely going to have this in the bag. You protect your children, you address whatever force is in there, and you make sure you tell it to leave you alone. And this is where I'm telling you it starts with you. You can't be afraid and meek and try to say, please leave us alone. No, you go in, you say, leave us alone. Get out of my home. You don't belong here anymore. If you ever belonged here at all. Now, you say you've experienced this for a good portion of your life. Some people are much more sensitive to spiritual energy. So even if it's something that's been around for a while, you still need to address the fact that if it's been there for all this time, you need to say that it needs to back off. It needs to keep away from you and your family and leave you alone. Now, some folks aren't as upset about spiritual energies around them, and if that is the case, that you don't really mind it being around, just want it to back off, that's fine too. You just let it know that you accept its presence, but you don't want its interaction. You be clear as to what you want, and that will help make that go away. Now, one thing is, whenever you have something that's trying to scare you, usually there's a reason. Sometimes it's because whatever you're talking about or talking to is trying to take that home. Well, this is your home. You can't let it. In a case, maybe it's the same thing that's been following you around for a while. Well, you let it know that this is your life and you don't want it involved right now like that. So you let it know that it needs to keep its distance from you. You can exist, you can coexist, but it doesn't need to interfere with your daily life, and especially not your family. Aside from anything of that sort, when you take that ownership, you also need to make sure that you believe it, because if you don't believe in what you're saying, it's not going to believe you either. No different than any other human being. If you try to scare somebody who's trying to attack you, but you're afraid and you're acting like you're afraid, they're not going to back off. You need to be very steadfast. Bring out that intestinal fortitude, stand firm, and you say that this is your life, this is your home, this is your family. Stop. And when you do that and you believe it, it will make a difference. When it comes to the situation of your partner, all of a sudden going through mood swings that change them into a totally different person that you don't even recognize, that is a bit more of an oppressive force, because human spirits can scare people, they can make you feel worn, they can make you feel worn down. But if it was out of the blue, all of a sudden, that's, to me, again, I'm not Mr. Know Everything, but I think I'm fairly adept in much. But I would say that if it came out of the blue, a human spirit doesn't have the kind of energy to all of a sudden change a person in a moment. Not in a moment's notice. That's more of an oppressive force. So let's just hope that if this is the first time and that's what happened, that it was just, I would want to say, an off day for him. Just because if this was a one-time thing, it hasn't happened before, definitely try not to go to that inhuman side, because that's something that nobody really wants to mess with. Spiritual energies of your human nature, that's one thing, but the other side of it is a completely different story. So let's just hope, for sake of argument, that that's just he had a bad day that day and that's all that was, because if it hadn't happened before, probably better off to just have that belief right now. If things are much worse, absolutely yes, that means that if it's starting to shift moods, starting to be more aggressive, starting attacking things, then yes, your spiritual beliefs, whatever your background, if you're Catholic, addressing your church, whether you're Muslim or Hinduist, addressing your pandit or whoever your spiritual leader is, but definitely getting involvement and help that way will be necessary, I think. If nothing else, it will also help state of mind for the family. So for all of you, just to help you feel better about your home and yourself. Taking ownership, taking the help that you need. If you're looking for someone to help by coming in and investigating to see if there actually is something, or if it's in your own behaviors or something like that, definitely do so. We can help you here to help you find someone in your area that will be able to help you and not take advantage of you as well. I definitely would be more than happy to do so. So hopefully that gave you a few answers. If you have any other questions, definitely feel free to contact me. So again, that's info@paranormalperspective.com. You can let me know at any time and I will get back to you. For any of my new listeners, definitely give us a shout. If you want to ever have any experiences you wish to share, that you want to talk about, have some answers to, this is an open and safe place. You can definitely talk about it. You can definitely let me know. As of right now, this is a new setup for us here. So right now, I am just doing this solo today, but every now and then I'm going to have someone join me so we can have a nice conversation. One thing that I also will be doing from now on is I'm going to be opening up the floor by way of social media. So for those of you who join my, again, looking for me on Facebook at VJ Prasad as Paranormal Perspective, I will have the online forum set up so that we'll be using the messenger of Facebook. So you can message in your questions and I can read them out and address them as you message in. I'll let you know what times I'll be on. And we can have more of a discussion that way. Who knows, maybe things will get even better one day and I can actually have a phone system. Now that would be cool, but right now, no. So otherwise, let me know what your stories are. I can't wait to hear about them, can't wait to talk about them, and let's keep this all going. I am so happy to address you guys on my debut episode today. Thank you for joining me, and to any of my audience out there, definitely give me a shout. Love to hear from you, hear your thoughts, and can't wait to talk to you guys. Thanks a lot, and I hope you enjoyed. Take care.